back to Project Independence and You Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Otto Los, a co-host, and Kristina Liu, the incredible radio show producer. And I do mean that. She pulls these shows together, gets guests. The topics are always compelling and like timely. You know, I mean, so much was going through my head talking to this doctor and just thinking like how so much everything is so connected, you know, everything is connected. Everything we do really connects to every kind of senior issue, program, health topic, you know, and, you know, it's just good to kind of get the other end of concussions. They're so tricky and there's so many things going on.
No, and it's just, I think it's so important to, you know, what we've learned is to really get it like addressed, you know, and checked out like as soon as possible. You know, that's when you really start running into problems. And I think, and this goes for people of all ages, you know, and especially as you were saying, you know, athletes. And, you know, I think you might not realize, you know, and it's because I've had friends, you know, my girlfriend just recently was in a car accident. Luckily, she's okay. But that was the first thing she got checked out because she was like, oh no, she had hit her head. And, you know, and you don't know, you know, there's so many different factors, as you said, and it's so interconnected. So it's so important to really get that checked out. And, you know, and it's preventative, you know, and I think that's, you know, you saw the light bulb go off on Dr. Sabini's head when we were talking about, you know, just preventative measures, because that's really the best kind of thing to do. And we, you know, are constantly saying that about the house and minimizing your risk as much as possible, you know, and that's all we could really do at this point. You know?
Yeah, I find interesting things like what's the difference between a CAT scan and an MRI?
Yeah, that was a good question.
You know, a lot of people may know that. I maybe knew it at one time.
Yeah.
But, you know, so I'm going for somebody tells me, oh, I have to go for an MRI. Well, okay, you know, I don't know. Yeah. So now what? You know,
no, it's so
a
true.
CAT scan, X-ray, MRI. We didn't get to X-ray, but I think X-ray is probably a little more focused on one thing.
Bones, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and now we know CAT scan is to check for bleeding and broken bones, and MRI is tissues and nerves and other things, and you know.
There you go. Now you have like all these questions. So if it ever comes up in like Family Feud or something, Otto, you know, you could just
if I remember.
There's so much golden nuggets.
It's funny, you don't know what you remember. You know, like once in a while I did crossword puzzle on the tablet, you know, electronic crossword puzzle. And some stupid thing comes up and you pop up with the answer and you say, where did that come from? You know, how did you know that? You know, like it was way back here somewhere. But then you see a show like Jeopardy and you wonder, did they ever sleep? Or did they get
right?
How do do they retain everything that flies through the air? How does that work? You know, I mean, you know, a lot of times I don't even understand the question.
I think Jeopardy is all about reading. I mean, I think
and memory,
reading and retaining, right, and retention of what you read. Exactly, it's reading. If you read everything and you know, fiction, nonfiction, whatever, history, and you retain it, you're good at Jeopardy. And I think crossword puzzles is that too, but there is like, I agree with you. Like there's sometimes I'm doing a crossword puzzle, I'm like, how did I know that? How did I even, just recently I was doing this crossword puzzle and the answer was COPEN, Copen. And I'm in and the question referenced something about green. And I'm thinking to myself, what could it be? What would fit in here? There wasn't like maybe one or two letters in there. And it just, nothing seemed to fit. And then in my head, I'm thinking, wonderful, wonderful Copenhagen. And it was like beautiful city of green. And I'm like, oh, it's Copen. Like, I would never have known that. You know, it's just weird how you find these things that are in there.
But like
and
with
it's even knowing the lyrics to a song that you haven't heard in a bazillion years, and like be like, why do I even know it? Or even like a song that you weren't into, and you're like, why do I know all the words to the song?
Right.
But I think, listen, it all we're laughing at these things, but it's so important to do certain things like this, and obviously there's all different things, especially nowadays. All different versions of word searches and crossword puzzles and Sudoku, but like to just keep your brain active. I mean, that's always the common theme when we talk to these doctors, is really to kind of do these things to just keep it, keep the juices flowing, as my grandpa would say. So I think it's, definitely a good thing to do for all of our listeners.
True.
Yeah, I have to say, exercise in any way is, I mean, for me personally, when I do teach a yoga class, or now that I'm starting to work out in the morning, I'm just so much more with it. I mean, it just gets you going. It puts you in a much more positive, it starts the day in a positive way. You've already accomplished something and it's so early. And it's better than kind of waking up, even if you do anything, even in bed, you do just like a full body stretch and a little bit of mindful breathing, and you breathe in, you take in a positive breath and you smile, you're starting your day off a little bit better, and I think things are much more clear.
You got to force yourself a lot of times. I do. I'm not one who says, oh man, I can't wait to exercise.
I'm with you.
Right.
I'm just so excited about the whole idea, No, that's not true.
It's true. This morning, I had to teach a class at 8 a.m. in Wantagh. Okay. So it was freezing. I had to leave my house super early, had to get ready, had to think about what I'm going to do. And the last thing in my head, I mean, I go through it in my head. I do, oh God, I wish this class was canceled. It happens. But then I'm driving there and I'm thinking about like all the people that come to my class and like are, really rely on me to teach this class, But then, and then you get there and it's like, all right, and then you start getting into it. It's like amazing to go from like out of that feeling. But when you're doing it, it's like, okay,
once you get into the groove,
it's like that transition. There's got to be
just the build up that's kind of difficult to do.
Right, exactly. And then you're there and it's it's where you should be.
I'm way more of like a nighttime person. So like I like to, I'm very productive at like bizarre hours, as opposed to, I'd rather stay up really late than wake up early and do anything. So it's
I'm the other way.
Yeah. I'm becoming the other way. I used to be Kristina's way, but now I'm falling asleep so much earlier and getting up so early. So,
it's probably better off. I mean, I think my way is a little crazy, but it's working right now. I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
We'll see how long
it works for you, and that's really,
I think it's just natural the way it is. I mean, I find that in the morning, that's part of why I wrestle with the idea. Do I want to exercise? No, I got this project I really want to do, and I really want to do it. But then I say, but I should exercise. I only do 15 minutes.
Yeah, but that's still something.
With dumbbells and bands and and stretch.
That's it. That's great.
Yeah, but sometimes I don't want to do the 15 minutes.
No,
so
and I have to say,
I
have to give a special, thanks to Dr. Sabini, because as you know, from last week's show, we were talking about our segment was going to be on sleep. I mean, even though we kind of went into that a little bit.
Right.
We had to reschedule that because the speaker had an emergency that came up. So Dr. Sabini came in a moment's notice, and it was really a wonderful segment. So we're going to get more into sleep because I'm always very fascinated. So that's in a month or two. We'll be doing that again, that topic, because it's quite the interesting, and it's so much about habit and pattern, and it's very difficult for me, I'm not going to lie, to not put the TV on while I'm in bed. So that's quite, when she said that, I was like, oh, I don't know. But I understand the logic behind all of it. But
well, we have a TV in the bedroom. It hasn't been put on for 5 years, easy, maybe more.
Wow.
And I say, okay, I'm going to get rid of the box, the cable box. So naturally, you call the cable company and you tell me you want to get rid of this box And then they tell you, oh yeah, your rate is now going to go up $40 a month because even though you're getting rid of a box,
Right.
you're grandfathered in on the old plan, and now you'll
Right.
be no longer grandfathered in. So I'm stuck with the box. It's laying there and does nothing.
All right. Well, you know what? You never know. It might come in handy one day.
Yeah, maybe. That's true when you have no choice.
You never know. You never
Nope.
know.
Nope.
There's a lot of good things to watch out there.
Yeah.
Right now. And
That's
just
the
on a random
problem.
side note, I watched Being the Ricardos yesterday, late last night when I couldn't fall asleep.
Yeah. Did you
Great
like
movie.
it?
Really good movie. I was like crying, but it was a very good movie.
Which movie?
I watched it.
Called Being the Ricardos.
Oh, the Lucille Ball.
Yeah.
It's on
When she was,
Amazon or
Yep.
one? Yeah.
it's about the period of time where she was being blacklisted
Yeah.
for being a communist.
It was so.
Yeah,
I'm always very
McCarthy
interested in
era.
Right. Yep.
in their story, and I was saying to my mom, she was so like just iconic for her time. She was doing a lot that was clearly breaking the mold of what was really going on then. So I'm always fascinated by Lucy's stories, and I really was. It was great. I was
Well,
like,
she's
that
a
was
great
good.
entertainer.
yeah, it was. I was very emotional though. I was like, it was so late. I was like, why am I crying? But it was. If anyone's looking for a movie, it was quite the good movie to watch.
And she broke a lot of boundaries too. Being
and
pregnant
she
on
was
television.
40. She had her first baby at 40, her second baby at 42, and it was so. That was so. I mean, obviously now you see that more, but then
Now it's common.
It was just, and I loved her comments, because I love that kind of humor. She had a lot of like side comments she would say to Ricky, behind the scenes and stuff, and the fact that they were so hesitant to show her pregnant on TV, which is such a crazy concept because she was married to Ricky, like it was just weird, and they wouldn't say the word pregnant, so it was like these very interesting kind of things, and they were the first, interracial couple to be shown on television, so it's all these things that we see so often now, but for that time it really wasn't a thing.
Now you call it interracial. If you think about it, how silly is that?
Crazy.
Yeah.
But I was doing all this research last night because I get, and that's the blessing of Google, because I'll be watching things and like these random thoughts are going through my head. So I have like a full research paper on Lucy. But I found out a lot of facts yesterday. So it was very good. If anyone is trying to warm up and stay home in this cold weekend, I think that is a nice little thing to do.
Well, say that one more time. The which Ricardo?
It's called Being the Ricardos.
Being the Ricardo.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Right.
I mean, listen, our household, between me and my mom, we have like every streaming service like known to man. So, if you have any questions, just ask me.
I'll tell you that Amazon is a good deal.
Yeah.
It's like $130 a year.
That's right, Amazon. If you're listening, sponsor us over here at Project Independence in You. But neither here nor there. My favorite part of this show is I'm always sent information saying, oh, can you, share it with the audience? So one that's important that I'm sure a lot of people heard about, whether you're watching the news, even though we try to not really watch the news that often, but you'll see it, is that you are now able to get these at-home COVID tests delivered to your house through the post office. And I just, it's a very quick and easy process if you have access, to a computer. If you do not, though, you can call 311 or 516-869-6311, and you'll be connected to one of our social workers and nurses, and they're able to fill it in for you so you can get this directly shipped. You just literally need to type in your name and your address, and I believe your phone number was all that was in there. It took me all of 2 seconds to do. And it's great because you'll get 4, test packets delivered to your house, and it's just a good thing, to keep. God willing, no one has to use them, but just to have it just there if God forbid you need it or someone in your family needs it. So to access it online, you can directly go to www.usps.com/COVID test. Or like I said, if you do not have that, please give us a call and we'll gladly help you, get that over to you. So just wanted everyone to know that. And then there's another wonderful program, and I love, these community things that came up through COVID to kind of help out. So this one is called the Focus Caring Hands Program. It's for elderly residents living in New Hyde Park, Floral Park, Manhasset Hills, and Garden City Park. So it's just limited to those areas because it's through that church. But starting February 5th to March 19th, every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., you'll be able to get groceries delivered to, different seniors who can't get out can, kind of work with this church to get groceries delivered to them.
Manhasset Hills, not Manhasset.
Manhasset Hills. Yeah, it's all like the 11040 zip code area.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But just to get in touch with them, you can call over at the church would be 516-424-0602. I'm sure there's a lot of local house of worship are doing, isolated things. And if anyone has information like that, please send it our way because we like to build it up and promote great stuff that's going on. So
that's every Saturday.
That is every Saturday. It starts on February 5th and it goes till March 19th. And in order to do that, they ask that you call to schedule an appointment the Friday before each Saturday with whatever your list is and your requests and whatnot. So it's kind of like a more personal version of Instacart. So that is just great.
Probably less expensive.
Yeah, who knows? I'm not sure about, what the, I don't think there's a cost assigned to it besides the buying of the groceries. But you can get all the information directly from them because that's good. Next week, we have on United Way to talk about the Project Warmth program and just other services they are providing, which is quite timely because it's very cold. I'm like scared to even venture outside. But what I did notice on a positive note, the sun is when I leave work, it's still light out. So I think we're approaching spring. So
on the news this morning, it said sunset at 5 o'clock, and then starting tomorrow, sunset will be after 5 o'clock. So we're getting there, Christine.
Okay.
We're getting there. We actually have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town, and we'll be right back with Kristina Lou, Otto Los, in just a few moments.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
And welcome back to Project Independence and You on Community Talk Radio on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with our co-host Otto Los and Kristina Lou, who is the radio show producer. We are in the Talk of the Town segment, which is always the second hour of Project Independence and You. And we're just learning about what's going on in the town. And also, we were just talking a little bit about sunset. And Kristina had mentioned that she noticed it's getting darker a little later. And on the news this morning, they did say 5 o'clock today it was sunset, but going forward, it'll be like 5:02 will be sunset. So we're getting.
I like to hear. See, my finger is just so on the pulse. You know what I mean? I just manifested that news.
What's
story.
the sunrise?
I think
never
they
up
said
for that.
something. Yeah, I can't remember what they said. I'm more interested in it getting lighter out.
Right.
But that sunrise can be tricky too, though. Sometimes, like when it gets really like 6 o'clock in the morning and the sun is out bright, and it's hard to sleep.
Can I ask you guys something? Yes. Is this the coldest January you can remember? Like, to me, it is so. The temperature is so cold. It doesn't seem like we've been this cold in January in a very long time.
I feel like I'm not sure because I just I forget. So when it's happening, I'm like freezing cold, and then it's like I just I don't know.
I'm a weather person. I have the weather on my phone. I follow the Island-wide guy on Facebook.
Yeah, you have to follow. The problem is you have to follow all those because everything tells you a different story.
I know. It's
Do you ever go to the weather bug?
Yes, so you'll laugh because my analness, of course, if I have a trip planned or I'm going somewhere or there's, a party, whatever it is, that's when I really go overtime on all the different apps. So like I had like it was something, maybe it was Jay's 40th, my husband's 40th birthday. And it was outdoors because, everything I've been doing in recent times has been an outdoor kind of function, to keep people comfortable. And I was terrified because everything was telling me different. So I had the weather bug, I had the weather channel, I had like AccuWeather, I had the iPhone, and I would like just sit there as if I was like, going to somehow like, piece this all together and get like the accurate weather. It did, slightly rain a little bit, but it wasn't too much.
Well, the weather bug gives you hourly, like a week out. And I look at that because of golf.
Yes.
Look at Tuesday morning and Sunday morning because I walk Jones Beach. How do I have to dress when I go to Jones Beach?
Wow.
We go no matter what.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It really is. What about the Farmer's Almanac? They really called this winter. They did.
It's true. And that's the other thing that, if I'm really trying to find something far out, if I'm like, I don't know why I do this to myself because all it does is create more anxiety because it's like you're constantly checking. But that's the other one I always like whip out is the Farmer's Almanac, trying to find out the monthly, weather.
But in one respect, it's been relatively mild because we haven't had any single digit days. Really, it's double digits.
I don't know.
Well, wind is the big thing to me. When it's
and
really
speaking of wind,
windy.
that's an observation I have met. I don't know if anyone else, our listeners have seen this, but I feel like the past year has been more windy than ever. Like I've never seen, and I could always judge, by my outdoor decorations, and like what occurs. And it definitely, for some reason, and even if it's sunny, it appears to be like crazy windy, and it's been a weird wind time. So
I don't know because I know, I like kind of count based on when my garbage can's in the middle of the street and I have to chase it down the block, and I haven't had to do it that much.
Yeah, I don't. And I think also I'm up at very late hours, and there's always some kind of crazy like windstorm thing because it happened to me a lot with our Christmas decorations. Luckily, everything made it through. But it would be like late night, like, oh my God, Jay's sleeping, the outdoor trees falling down. It was like quite the quite the situation. But we'll stay tuned. You know what? Our director over here, Dan Cox, said we gain a minute in each direction through the end of June. So, he's just got fun facts too.
Thank you.
It's our Wizard of Oz over there, just buzzed in.
I like that.
What I also wanted to get into, last week we were kind of doing a little recap on 2021 numbers. And of course, we ran out of time because there's so much information. And on the show, we talk a lot about, our social workers and nurses, our transportation program, our exercise program. And, there's so many other smaller little partnerships we've had pretty much since the beginning. And that's really been the foundation of Project Independence. And I just, especially during this COVID time when everyone was kind of rocked and had to jump to figuring out different programming and whatnot. And I just have to give a quick little glimpse into these. So EAC not only provides our social work services, but we also partner with them for their respite program. Now, under normal circumstances, the respite program, they would come in for, a certain amount of time and kind of give the caregiver a break. Obviously, due to safety concerns during the pandemic, there was no in-home visits during the beginning of 2021 until June. So once June hit, the weather got a little better. There was a lot of outdoor stuff going on. They were able to, from January to June. So there was, 9 caregivers and their loved ones that they worked very closely with. And just so I want to give a glimpse into how thoughtful and incredible and what a difference they made. They provided one-on-one activities virtually over FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, by the phone. They were doing monthly wellness checks or email checks. There was a lot of referrals to the Meals on Wheels program, home care, shopping, mental health services. They also distributed personal protective equipment to families and they would give up-to-date information, whether it was dealing with the COVID vaccine or just different protocol. They also gave each family self-care bags to promote wellness. And that was every other month they would give, and there was different themes for National Caregivers Month and Valentine's Day. They provided yoga mats, resistance bands, mugs, sleep masks, coloring books, and food items. They also collaborated with other organizations who were providing virtual programs, whether it was on exercise or fitness. We worked directly with them on just, referring to our different programs. And it was just and they would give birthday cakes and just to see the quotes, because they sent me just a lot of testimonials of the program. And it was just made such a difference, especially, those are the people where it was hardest for, they were had these relationships where they could get a break, but now being put in COVID, they couldn't leave. A lot of the home health aides that they, had didn't work out. There was a lot of different issues. So this program and just the lives and the difference it made, especially during a very difficult time, I think was so important. So I just had to shine a spotlight on EAC. They're actually going to be on our program in March. We're going to have EAC on, and they're going to discuss all of because they're involved in so many, human service programs throughout New York. So
aren't they directly involved with Meals on Wheels? I think that's
yeah.
part of their program.
Yeah, so Meals on Wheels is a huge part, and they oversee that whole and they're going to go into that when they're on the show. So that's them. And then we also have we partner with North Shore Child and Family Guidance on the GRASS program.
Such a unique program.
It's one of my
important programs.
So it's called Project GRASS. It stands for Grandparent Respite and Support Project. So 20 different grandparents received assistance. Now, these grandparents are in care of their grandchildren, for multiple reasons. They're the primary caretaker for these grandchildren. And, this program, when you think about obviously it usually was an in-person thing, and they had to adjust during this because, these poor grandparents, I can only think about my own friends and their children and the remote learning and being home, it was like a whole new world and layer of stress and anxiety. So they still provided services. They did a hybrid kind of method throughout 2021, and they would help the grandparent and the grandchild, in just preparing and referrals and different check-ins and assisting with school. And the goal really is to raise consciousness and awareness of senior grandparents who had to take on this role of raising their grandchildren.
Is this a program just here, or is it a national program?
No, it's just here because North Shore Child and Family, so it's just for the island.
Oh, North Shore, okay. Because I have a good friend of mine who's in that category, and
I'm sure they know though, different organizations. There's probably little, it's a small. This program is just for the North Hempstead seniors. But
yeah, when we get a chance, I'm gonna get the connect from you, and I'd like to talk to them.
Absolutely. And it's
just stuff happens. People, their children maybe have a health problem, maybe they die, maybe they have an addiction problem, and grandma and grandpa end up with the babies, with the kids, and it's not easy. I can tell you from my friends.
It's an incredible program, and we've been partnered with them for years upon years, since we pretty much started. And they would have these support groups, and you would see these grandparents who were overwhelmed. I think about that all the time. It's it's a different generation. We say, especially with technology, not everyone's Otto, who is up on you and willing to kind of dive into how to stay connected to grandchildren. It's a very tough thing. So now you're put in a situation where you are the caretaker, and it's like a new world out there.
And COVID,
right, and then you throw COVID into the mix where you're all trapped in the house, and that really is the running joke with remote learning. Was like it's more torturous on the parents. I think about my friend who has 4 kids, And it was just like, and everyone just setting up, I couldn't even, it just making me anxious even thinking about it. So,
Well, and maybe you have a parent who also works home in the middle of all of that.
Of course,
you
yes.
know,
I mean, it's
Right.
it's a tough time, and God willing, we're on the road to hopefully things are going to get better, but the fact that these organizations out there, just really pulled together and said, let me figure out a way to help, really the most needed,
You said it
people
was
who need
called Project Grass, like
yeah, Project
Grass.
Grasp.
like grass
Grasp
on the
onto
ground.
something.
Grasp, like you're
onto
holding on. Yeah.
Grasp,
hmm
GRASP.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what,
Um,
Kristina? One of the things I was thinking of, and I you go back to that in a minute, but I just, because you're talking about all our partners and all the tracking, and Kristina keeps account of every single aspect of Project Independence, the numbers. It's so important, to know this, to understand, especially when we're growing. We need to make sure that we have ample staff. So we had this unbelievable staff meeting the other day, and sometimes you just, you forget how amazing, Otto, the people that work for Project Independence are, our Project Independence social workers, our Project Independence nurses, our core staff. And it's like you sit in this meeting and it's like everything, we're doing so much stuff. And, it's like, when you can link something, like how we were talking even with Dr. Savini, how something you do could help something that, like Krista was talking about, some of the seniors that miss going out, that are going out, carefully and cautiously and all that, but they really don't have anywhere to go because there's really not a lot of stuff going on. And, they're limited to staying close. And then I'm thinking, well, you know what? Any senior can come to an in-person fitness class. Even if they're not doing fitness, they could sit in the chair and watch it, but still feel part of it. So everything we do in Project Independence, from taxis to human services to fitness, it's all, we all work together. I'm just saying the meeting was so amazing because everybody got to talk a little bit about what they're doing, what's changing, what's coming down the pike. We have this new administration, what, and we're just, Project Independence always just gets so much support really from the town, no matter, who's doing it, it's just such a, such a great program. So it was a really, really good meeting.
You're so right, and it's
nonpartisan program.
Yeah, and and it's just being involved in Project Independent, and as you're saying, back in that staff meeting, we're so caught up in the hustle and bustle, and I say this all the time when I pull together these different reports and statistics, and it's nice to like just zone in and be like, wow, like when the details, my whole thing, is you can never really capture what goes on it with a number because we're a human service, program.
Right.
And it's really so important I love hearing the stories or the testimonials or, when a senior calls in and says, this changed my life, it's like, because you really just feel the impact of that. And that's what you got from all the social workers and nurses. All are doing their own kind of things and connecting in different ways. And just to share that information and, that's what it's all about, is because like, as Beck said, here's, I had your idea for Krista, spread that word, because people aren't necessarily thinking that the exercise program is so much more than just, we're going to work out. You're
it's
getting
socializing.
That,
right.
You're getting that social component. And I feel like a lot of people don't know that you don't have to be, the picture perfect
Zumba.
health. If you can be, just want to try. And I think that's such an important message to get out there to people, is that, you can just be like, do the class in a chair, in any of the classes, it's not just some. The fact that you could sit there and still, and, and I'm sure build your way up, who knows, you might start in a chair and then, weeks come and, I think about that all the time with our program. So
one of the things that I see as a byproduct of this whole COVID time is we belong to an AARP chapter, which used to meet in Clinton Martin Park. And basically, that chapter is now dissolved. because it was going a little bit down to begin with. And this gap now has caused that to go away. So where I'm going with this whole thing is that I could see the need to have a lot of resurrecting of programs that were on the fence before,
Right.
that now have to be all rejuvenated, if you will. And a lot of these kinds of things like AARP meetings or any group type of thing where they haven't had a meeting in 2 years. Stuff happens, people die, people who run them no longer want to run them. And the need to find, like in our case, this AARP chapter, they need somebody to be the president of the chapter. Well, nobody wants to be the president of the chapter. And to be honest about it, that included me because I have enough on my plate. So what happens? You don't have somebody who wants to take care of it. It goes away. So, to me, that's going to be an ongoing side effect of this whole thing, which people will have to want to do and work at making these programs be good again.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe connecting to another program that is, in
Well,
some way partnering. But you know what, Otto, on that, we'll talk about it when we come back because we do have to take a quick break. You're listening to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We'll be right back.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Project Independence in You on 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. We've been your host today, Rebecca Miller, along with co-host Otto Loos and our fabulous radio show producer, Kristina Lou. The show always flies by. Here we are in the last segment. We do a lot of talking over the break too, kind of what we're going to talk about coming up. And, Otto usually does the talking and, then we have to come back to the show. Kristina, before we talk about more senior groups, because, we just kind of started talking about our Project Independence staff and subcontracted staff and everyone, and just how busy and, wonderful what everybody's doing is and how we can, stay connected and utilize each other in so many different ways. But you were going over a lot of the numbers and the partners that we've had yet for so long. And you were, recently, before we started going up on the staff, you were talking about the Grandparenting Program, which is just such a phenomenal program and so unique. And I know that you had some other programs.
Yeah, and so those are our like formalized programs that we, and on top of that, we have obviously our St. Francis van through Catholic Health. They were one of the first partners that were trying to figure out a way to kind of keep it going. They're
mobile units, right?
Right. They do blood pressure screenings and they were giving out flu shots and, and it's amazing what people can, you don't have to make an appointment. And there's been numerous times where someone said, all right, I'm just going to go, I'm in the area, the van's here. And, they get their vitals, check their blood pressure, and it was so high that they've had to been like sent to the emergency room and stuff. So it's a wonderful program. And I love the concept of you don't need to make an appointment, because it gives you that kind of flexibility. And when COVID hit, we were back and forth trying to figure out a safe way to do this, because it's usually in the van, which isn't, close quarters.
Right.
And they were like, what we can do? We have an awning. We could pull out the awning and set it up outside. And then as things, we got more information and, we could figure out different ways to do it safely, that they were bringing it indoors, spaced out, all the guidelines. So they, in 2021, went to 13 locations and 144 people were screened or received a flu shot during that time. So, it's so wonderful. We're really resource rich on Long Island, especially in the town of North Hempstead. with, obviously our nurses are Northwell, and then our Friday programs are NYU Langone, and our St. Francis Van partnership. So it's so wonderful that we're able to have these agencies, linked into us, because there's so much great stuff, and it's nice to be able to really talk about, I like our news. It's like, I always think of Drew Barrymore's show, which I think we started at first and she took from us. It was like the sunshine, like, good news kind of thing. And it's nice to be able to do that in a time where the news isn't as positive and uplifting as
Christina, what
could be.
about programs that, like, I'll use an example, like we talked offline, AARP, or you mentioned New Hyde Park Seniors, that use Town of North Hempstead facilities that people might be interested in, like other AARP is an example.
Right.
How do people find out what is available?
So we're currently, and I know this because I've actually just had this discussion, I think last week. It's available on the Town North Hempstead website. If you click on senior groups, there's, you'll see the name of the group, when they meet, phone numbers and stuff. I know that they're actually in the process of kind of revamping that to make it more specific and update it, because some information might be not 100% accurate still. But you can always call 311 or 516-869-6311 because of the fact that, they just are renting the space, from town facilities. So the town's not managing it, we're not managing it. So things can be changing, each group has a different president. And I know, like, there's different rules. So some have waiting lists. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that goes into it all. But I would always recommend to call 311. Obviously, if there's an updated list, and I know that they were talking about, kind of having the more specifics of things, I'll be more than happy to promote it on here.
I got a different one now. This is a group also. I was at the dinner last night and somebody asked me, what does Town of North Hempstead have as far as lifeguard training is concerned? I realize we're in the dead of winter and it's cold, but there are pools and they do need lifeguards.
They do.
Do you have any?
And they usually advertise that, closer to, when it's, because, North Hempstead, obviously it has the pools and there's different camps and stuff. So I know this because at our building, there's usually a giant banner that says, lifeguards needed and the training program. I haven't received anything yet. I could look and see if there's anything out as.
I actually think I saw something on that.
Really?
You can call 311 and find out about it, because.
And I'll look it up. I'll bring it to next week. I'll make a note and I'll also check so we can discuss it, because.
I think I saw something. You have to be 15 or older to do the training. I think that it was posted yesterday.
Well, this is actually one of my friend's granddaughter or grandson wants to go for, is a good swimmer, but they'd like to go for lifeguard training so they could do something like that.
Yeah.
And it came up last night, believe it or not.
Yes, I know that North Hempstead does. I know they have that, and I will. And obviously, as Beck said, you can call 311. But I'll also look into that and bring that back to the table next week. So there's all good. And I like that. I like that we're thinking about the warm weather and pools and sunshine.
Well, we have pools now in the dead of winter.
That's right. Which
right?
I give so many props to those people that utilize it right now, because I can't imagine putting a bathing suit on right now.
No.
But
even taking a shower is scary.
It's you have to really motivate yourself up, to get to that place. Obviously we're in a time right now of change and kind of figuring out a way, as we discussed earlier, about kind of revamping certain things and what works, what we've learned from COVID, how to kind of incorporate, we're always talking about that, the new world and people, let's be real, there are certain people who are still not comfortable, and I totally get that. So we're just trying to find, a way to kind of include. So that's what we talked about in our staff meeting. There's going to be a lot of hybrid stuff going on for multiple reasons, not even just, that's something we learned from COVID, is that it's for people who, don't drive or have some kind of other medical thing, and it's too hard for them to get out, but still want to be a part of, our programs. this Zoom world really is a tool for them, and they're, terrified. Look, the amount of phone calls we get about North Hempstead TV, whether it's the radio show or the exercise program, there was like this fear, like, oh my God, because when we started doing things in person, like, are you getting rid of that? And the answer is no, So
Right.
we're kind of trying to figure out a way to do things. Hopefully our advisory committee will find a way to kind of do in-person stuff. And, as Otto, you were saying, it's about kind of looking at these programs and these groups and figuring out how to, reinstate it. And, at our core, the advisory committees, when we started, there was a lot of community leaders and getting really connected into the house of worship or the local, every area has a different thing. And we want to definitely get that back into our advisory committees because it's just the best way to have information. So as we get closer to that, we will figure, this all out. It's an evolving kind of process, which is good, but it's good stuff to talk about, right? It's hopeful thing.
One of the things too is that, we do have in-person class things going on now, like at the Yes We Can Community Center. We have, with NYU Langone Health, we have the Balance program.
And that kicks off in February.
Right.
So.
And then we have the current events program and then the mindful coloring. You don't have to be a resident of Westbury to go there for a Project Independence program or, so that, keep in mind too, that if you are interested in going to some of the in-person programs, you could live anywhere in the town.
Of course, absolutely.
Project Independence, any Project Independence program, exercise. I mean, even if you lived in, I don't know if you'd want to do this, but, if you lived in Call Place and you wanted to take a class, a Tai Chi class in Port Washington, one of the Project Independence classes, you could do that. So it's really, being a Project Independence member is really important too. And that was one of the things that I was hoping you were going to talk about too, is how many members there are. I think you did mention it last week.
Yeah, but I will gladly
closing in on the next big number.
And this is just, so it's even higher now because we are in 2022.
Right,
but
exactly.
In 2021, we ended the year at 15,725 members, and just within 2021, 618 members joined.
Wow.
Which is incredible. It's so great to see, and Paula Ewell, who's the deputy commissioner, along with Rebecca and myself, we, get these surveys and are reviewing them. And it's just so amazing to see that there's a consistent need. Like, listen, people are turning 60 every day, and there's a new way to get connected. And it's, the surveys that are coming in, which are so interesting, is there's a lot of in the 90s, and it's just amazing to see,
I know that. And, that's the, like, we talk about this. What is the silver tsunami? The true silver tsunami is the fact that people are living a lot longer and a lot more people are turning 60 and 65 than ever before because of the baby boomers. So you have this huge amount of people in their senior years. So it's it really is. It's really
age is I can speak from experience, a very relative thing. There are some people who are young who almost want to act older.
Right.
It's hard to describe, and
that's
when
not you, Otto.
Well, yeah, but you got to try to
it's a personality trait too.
Right.
It's a weird,
you have to be real about where you are too. Like, I used to ski some, I'm not going to ski now. It's just got too much risk connected to it. Could I do it? I think I could.
Right.
Is it worth it? No. I'd
what
rather
we
go
were
bowling.
talking about.
Bowling is a little safer than skiing.
With Dr. Sabini, that's what, the point being is just accept it and do, like bowling, do the things that are still fun. And, you just kind of do different things at, the level so you can stay nice and healthy for, a longer period of time. Like bowling and
well, like, I'm a golfer. I like to golf, right?
Yeah.
But the group I golf with, where none of us are hitting the ball 300 yards, we can still hit the ball, but you're turning ability and everything else slows down some. So we play realistically now. We don't like in golf, there's a time you hit from the tip, which is the back tees. We don't hit from the back tees. And sometimes we don't even hit from the middle tees. We go to the front tees, to make it.
No, but I think it's about modifying, and
more realistic and more fun
right.
for who we are. We're not Tiger Woods at this point in time.
Right.
Never was.
You know what the bottom line is? I really think once you accept that is, are you still having fun?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having fun? You're out with your friends. You're going. You're still going to the gym. You're still going to the golf course. You're doing the things you love to do, and you're enjoying yourself. So it's just,
and it's all, and that's what we've always said, right? It's it's finding that, and everyone's idea obviously is different of what their idea of fun is or what they want to do. But
even there, it's relative to your situation.
Of course,
there are people who are not as fortunate as I personally, who have serious problems. They've had strokes or they've had this or that, and they have limitations. There's no question about it. Greater limitations than somebody like myself at this moment in time. But and it's easy to say what they ought to be doing when you're not in their shoes.
Right,
of course,
right.
Very easy. But I think what I would hope I would do is try to, as long as your mind is reasonably okay, try to come up with some things that you might look forward to.
It could be the littlest thing, and I
might be playing Yahtzee with your grandchild or whatever, whatever you're capable of doing.
I have to laugh, and I'll be sharing my stories, because everyone knows I'm an open book. But, my husband's latest obsession is camping, right? Christina's never been much of an outdoor camper. But listen, I'm willing to do anything, right? And especially Jay's obsessed. It's like literally his new obsession. So that's all he's been planning for when the weather gets nicer. So it's been a process, right? So I'm down. I've joined in. I've hopped on the bandwagon. So last weekend it was very cold, and my husband and I haven't been doing much. We're trying to just stay in the house really, and we set up a tent. We got a tent, and we wanted to try it out, make sure it worked, but it was too cold outside. So we're like, let's move the furniture in the living room. Move the furniture. We set up a tent, and it was really a great time. We watched the movie. And we felt like two little kids in our tent. And then I was like, we might as well just sleep in the tent, at this point. But it was like and it was like the silliest little thing. But we're like, this was fun. This was a great Saturday, we hung out in the tent.
What you could do, and I've done it with my own kids, is put the tent up in the backyard.
Yeah, well, that's what we said. That'll be our next when it gets a little warmer.
In the good weather, and actually sleep out there.
Yeah, well, that's actually what we're gonna do, because
you've got nieces and whatever.
We did a test with Jay's sleeping bag, and we started inside, and because he got this sleeping bag from for a birthday present one year, and it said 0 degrees, so he really wanted to test it out, and he put it on the patio on the cold Saturday, and didn't feel anything. So it was a success. I felt like we were doing like an infomercial for the sleeping bag, but it was and it was like these little silly things. Obviously, not everyone needs to, but I always think about that there is something, and it could be minuscule or small, that everyone can find, and listen, it's more difficult for some people, obviously, but to do that
in your backyard has some toiletry advantages.
Well, that's what I said. So I laughed with my mom, because I said that with the tent in our living room. I said, this is my idea of camping. I have my television, and then I have the bathroom not too far away. So that's my biggest issue, right? So I'm trying to come to terms with that process. But we've ordered all kinds of fun gadgets, and and now I dove in. I'm fully, I'm ready. So we'll see how this journey takes us. But that is.
I think we're approaching almost the end of the show, so I just want to make sure you get to cover whatever.
Yeah, so I just want to remind everyone, next week, make sure to tune in. We are going to have United Way on, talking about their programs, and Project Warmth, which is a great service for seniors who are having some heating cost issues. So that will be on, and I want to encourage everyone, if you missed any of our shows, you could always watch us on North Hempstead TV, which you might be doing right now, or you can go to the WCWP YouTube page or the Project Independence website. We have all of our episodes archived. Join us.
well, I guess that's it. We're kind of at the end of this show. Another great show, Kristina, really fabulous, great information. Really proud of our staff at Project Independence and just in love with all of our Project Independence members. And I hope everybody listens. We'll listen next week. You've been listening to Project Independence and You on Community Talk Radio, 88.1 FM and WCWP.org. And thanks, Otto, too, for always being the best co-host.
Thank you all. Be well.
Have a great
I enjoy
weekend,
every
all.
minute of it.
Have a great weekend.